Hello students, I'm Himani Sharma, your UGC NET Paper 1 educator. In this video, we will be moving forward. We will be bringing forward for you all a new 30-day program for your revision, for your last minute revision, right? So the name for the program that we have is The Last Lap, right? In this, series of lectures, the YouTube videos that we will be bringing forward for you, we will be solving previous year questions, right, but with the usage of concepts as well. So first of all, the feature that we have here is using the PYQs, we will be talking about explaining the concepts which are really important, right? So through PYQs, important concepts will be dealt with. Also, we will be talking about that how these important concepts are there, right? If there have been any repetition which has been there. So for your revision part, you can just watch this video and see these series of questions to, see where you all stand, right? So this is basically to bring forward for you all a new revision series, right? So first of all, the units that I will be bringing forward for the questions part is that I will be dealing with questions related to research aptitude, ICT, that is information and communication technology, and we will be also dealing with higher education. Right? So make your journey to crack this UGC NET 2023 examination will be made possible through you watching these videos and seeing the important concepts, right? So first of all, the questions that I have brought for you, let us just start with the video now, right? The first question that we have is, research, which of the following is not a characteristic of a research? So whenever you would have read about research, whenever you have done the unit research aptitude, you must have come across the various characteristics that the research has, right? So we will be seeing what is the right option from here. So as the question says, not the characteristic. So be a little, mindful here when you read the questions. So the first option is, research is systematic. Research is not a process is option B. Research is problem oriented. Research is not passive, which means that it is active, right? So among these four options, which one of you, think is the correct answer? You can pause your screens whenever there is a question so that you can read the question carefully, right? You can analyze it and then reach out to the answer, right? So first of all, the answer for this very question that we have here is option B. Let us just see what did we have in option B. Research is not a process. How can it be not a process, right? Obviously, because if we read research aptitude, even in the beginning of the unit, we know that research is something which is, done in a logical and a stepwise manner. So, logical and stepwise manner is needed when one wants to conduct a research. Same, just for instance, if you know that you want to cook something, for instance, you want to cook Maggi, you first of all collect and gather the all, ingredients that you require to make that very thing, right? Only then you will be proceed forward to get the end result which is there. Same is the case with research. You need to gather all the ingredients, you need to have hypothesis, you need to have a problem to, frame that hypothesis in mind, and then collect data, then collect samples, etc., and then analyze, and then reach out to the conclusion that you want to accept the research that you did using the null and alternative hypothesis. We will be dealing with null, alternative hypothesis, types of variables, etc., through these lectures only. So I am telling you all that you need to be a little more focused and determined to this thing that you want to crack this examination and you want to solve these things using the PYQs that we have. Coming back to the explanation. Research is the systematic process of solving an identified problem by means of investigation into materials and sources. So you might refer to certain materials, you might make your own theory, right? How can that be done? through a research which is done in a linear pattern, in a logical, in a framed, in a structured sense. Correct? Why is that done? To establish certain facts and reach new conclusions, to see if there is something new there, right? And experimentation aimed at the discovery. If you want to discover something, you want to bring something new to the table. Revision of a theory which has already been established, and you want to see if there is something as a gap which was there and you want to fill that gap, right? Interpretation. If you want to use a particular theory, for instance, you want to use a particular theory, for instance, that is feminist theory. You want to use it on a particular novel and you want to interpret it according to your own perceptions, your own opinions, right? But using that very theory. This is what research is, right? So I hope the answer was clear to you, right? Moving forward with the second question that we have. And for this one, you need to pause your screen a little bit more, because here we have the question in a statement-based purpose, right? So statement 1 says, reliability refers to whether a test measures what it says it measures, right? So this does not mean that it is correct, obviously. This is the statement 1, and then we have statement 2, which says that validity refers to whether a test consistently yields the same or similar scores. So pause your screen, students, and read out the options that we have here and see what do you have the answer as. Correct? So we will be moving forward with this very answer. The answer that we have is option B. That is, both statement 1 and statement 2 are incorrect. Why? Let's just see why is that very answer. First of all, we'll try to read statement 1 which is there. Statement 1 said that reliability refers to whether a test measures what it says it measures, right? So accuracy comes here. But if we talk about test reliability, the characteristic that we have in research, it legit means the degree to which a test is consistent. So if you talk about reliability, consistency is the word here. Correct? And stable in measuring what it is intended to measure, right? So if, for instance, you are measuring a particular, plant every day, and you see that the weight of that very plant is same and consistent, it means that your research is reliable in nature, right? Most simply put, a test is reliable if it is consistent within itself and across time, which means that if you measure that very plant, right, the weight of that very plant on day 1, and if you measure the weight of that very plant on day 7, and the weight remains same, it means your test is reliable. Hence, the statement 1 is incorrect here. Correct? Moving to the next statement, statement 2 that we had was, validity refers to whether a test consistently yields the same or similar scores. Obviously not, because we have talked about in the previous slide only with the reliability. It is reliability which yields the consistent or same results, right? But what is test validity? The degree to which the test measures what it claims to measure. Also, the extent to which inferences, conclusions, decisions made based on test scores are appropriate and meaningful. Now, let us just say this thing, for example, if you want to see that, you are gaining weight and you want to measure your weight, but the weighing machine is not accurate, etc., how will your test be valid? It won't be valid, right? So, for instance, let's just say that I am measuring myself, my weight using, I cannot measure my weight using an inch tape, right? The measurement tape. So, how am I not using the same tool? And I won't be getting the result, obviously, which I need for the test to be valid there. Hence, statement 2 is also incorrect, right? So, this is an image that I have for you to give you the basic differentiation, right? You can pause here and read it on your own as well, but I will read it for you also, right? So, first of all, reliability, extent to which the outcomes are consistent when experiment is repeated more than once. Correct? As I told you, if you are weighing a plant and day 1, day 2, day 3, the weight is same, it means your test is reliable. Coming to the validity, extent to which the instruments that are used in experiment measure exactly what they are supposed to measure. So for instance, as I told you, I cannot measure my weight using a measurement tape, correct? Hence, if I use the weighing machine only, then only my test will be valid, correct? Moving forward, we have another characteristics of research. So you can see, like we have talked about two characteristics only, but research has different characteristics as well. And UGC NET examiners tend to ask questions from characteristics as well. So let us just see what is objectivity. By objectivity, we mean that the researcher, whosoever is conducting the research, should not be biased at all. So no biasness or no discrimination, which means that I should not choose the contestants or the participants who are there in my research just because I know them, right? So researchers' biasness should not be there when conducting a research. Validity and reliability, we already have talked about. Coming to accuracy, here comes the measurement of tools. Whatever tools you are using, how accurate are they? If you are using a tool, right, if we just, let's just say again, for weighing, you are using a weighing machine. If that weighing machine is faulty in nature, is that going to accurately measure what weight you have? No, right? If you have 58 weight and it is showing you 68, it means that the results are going to be, faulty there as well, because the machine or the tool that you are using is faulty on its end as well. So the accuracy means the usage of tools, right? Use of accurate tools which are there for purposes. Then we have generalization. Now, before jumping on to what generalization in itself is, let us just see what we have. We will be moving forward in coming lectures as well. We will be talking about sampling techniques and how sample is different from population. But an overview here for just this characteristic, that when a researcher wants to conduct a research, he knows that he wants to do it on a particular population. For instance, let's just say that I have a population of 18 to 25 years old people who smoke, correct? Now, is it possible for me to conduct the research on the entire population of people who are 18 to 25 years of age? No, right? So, what will I do? I will choose people who have the same characteristics and I will choose a sample out of that very population. Let's just see, I can say I am going to choose from any area in Delhi, right? And I'm going to choose the people who have the same eating habits, who have the same sleeping habits, etc., right? So that their characteristics are same, and I can, then generalize what the result is, right? So this is how population, out of population, you draw a sample. And when your research is done, whatever findings you have from your sample, you apply or you generalize them on the population. That is what we have as the characteristic, that is generalization. When you use the population's sample, right, and you generalize it, whatever outcomes you have on the sample, you apply it on the population, and that is generalization in itself, right? Another point that we have here, another characteristic is credibility. Credibility means authenticity. Whatever sources are you citing in your research paper, are those authentic? Are those valid? Are those written by people who have, who have been acknowledged, right? So, credibility is basically authenticity. How trustworthy or how authentic your research paper is, how authentic your topic is, who are the people that you have cited, which are the journals, magazines, etc. that you have cited, right? All of them comprise of the authenticity which we have as another characteristic for research. Then we have empirical. Now, when we talk about empirical means that anything which is related to observation through senses, right? Using senses. So, when I say observation through senses, it means that whatever experiences that you have, you use your experiences and you form the research problem, the research question around that very problem, right? So that is what we have. For instance, in the empiricism, that is a research paradigm that we will be talking about in today's lecture only. It says that we learn things through our senses. Same is the case with research, another characteristic, that is empiricism, that you observe, you measure, you learn through your own experiences, correct? Systematic, we already have talked about that how research is a procedure which is step by step, which is logical, right? Which has certain steps that are to be followed to reach out to the conclusion. Then we have controlled factors. Controlled factors have certain things related to the variables that we have in research. Now, when I say control factors and an experimenter is doing a research on two plants, right? And he wants to see that if one plant kept under the same condition, let's just see, if one plant kept under the same condition, right, is given a fertilizer and the other one is not given the fertilizer. So this one, no fertilizer. Fertilizer. And this one we have with fertilizer. Correct? So the researcher will keep certain factors controlled. He will use the same soil, he will put them under same lighting, same sun conditions, same room temperature. He will be using the same amount of water in both the plants. But the only difference here would be the control. The variables will be controlled. That will not have another impact, right? So here, the only thing which will have impact on the plant growth, which will be the fertilizer, right? So same controlled conditions are also some of the as a characteristic that we have in research, because when conducting an experiment, you need to see certain differences, and those differences could be reached out only if you maintain the conditions in a controlled manner, right? So these are the control factors which are there in the research part. Coming to cyclical, it means that a research, just like a cycle keeps on moving forward. So when a person starts with the research problems, obviously first of all he identifies a gap, he sees a problem and he wants to solve it. Same is the case when that person only reaches out to a conclusion, some other person from that very research wants to see that there are legit certain gaps left again. So the solution for one person would be the problem for another, right? So this is how it is cyclical, because it starts with the problem and it ends with the problem for another person who wants to do the research, right? So this is how it is cyclical in nature. Logical we have talked about in the systematic part only, and then it should be replicable in nature. If the same experiment is conducted time and again, the results should be replicable, correct? So these were other characteristics of research that we had, except for the validity and reliability, of which we already have talked about in the question. Coming to the next question that we have, choose the most accurate statement. So basically they want to ask you what is a paradigm, right? So read the question, pause the screens, see what the answer is, right? The answer for this very question that we have is option C. So what do we have in option C? A paradigm is a theoretical framework which links to how one sees the world. Basically, a paradigm is a lens. So let us just assume that some of you are wearing green colored, glares. I am wearing yellow, someone is wearing blue, etc. So if all of us stand together and look at the sky, will we be seeing the sky in the same color? No, right? Same is the case with the research paradigms. The research paradigms act as a lens for the researcher, and he will not be using any other approach except for that very approach only. So if I'm wearing orange glasses, I'll be seeing the world around me in orange. If you'll be wearing blue, you will be looking around at the world using, seeing blue, all of them, right? So same is the case with the research paradigms, that the researcher forms his or her views according to that very lens only, correct? It reflects the worldview of the researcher, that how he views the, whatever research that he is doing. Various research paradigms that direct public health and social research include positivism, postpositivism, which are really very important and will be dealt with in today's class only, critical theory, and so on. We have rationalism, we have empiricism, postmodernism, Verstehen, transformatory, etc. So all of them will be dealt with, right? So what does it function as? It functions as a map or a guide for scientific communities. So I have a quick question for you all, right, which could be asked in the UGC NET examination. Let me know that who gave the definition of a paradigm. who coined the word paradigm, right? Write down in the comment section below so that I can see and reply whosoever was correct. Moving on to the next question. So we don't have a question right away. So first of all, I'll be explaining you what are the various research paradigms that we have, correct? So the first one is empiricism. When we talk about empiricism, empiricists say that you are born, you are not born with anything. Your senses, your sensory experiences are the ones which shape your, worldview, which shape your surroundings, etc. So, sensory experiences are really important for a person or a researcher who chooses empiricism as his lens, right? Very important. Also, they say that you are not born with any innate structures. So when I say innate structures, right? So no innate structures are there, correct? Which means that you are just born with a blank sheet. Let me just tell you one important empiricist of the time that we had known as John Locke. Locke was one such person who believed in empiricism, right? So he said that our mind is a tabula rasa, which means that our mind is a blank slate. Now, when he said that, he meant by saying that if you let's just see this screen. This is your mind. So this is what he meant by saying that we are born with a blank slate of paper. We are born with nothing, but it is our experiences. So when a teacher teaches you A, B, C, D, right? Only then you are able to acquire the information. Or let's just say when you are, you see that you are ill and you take paracetamol and you are okay by, using that very thing. So that time that this thing helped me. So from that experience, you learned that whenever now I'll be sick or ill, I will be having one paracetamol tablet, right? So through these experiences, basically, you learn certain things, correct? So this is what empiricism tells you about. Then we have another empiricism we are done with. Another topic that we have as a research paradigm is rationalism. So when we talk about rationalism, rationalists are the people who believe in reason and logic. Which means that they think with their rationale. They think with the logic and reason behind everything, right? So first of all, let us just all see that how are they different from the empiricists. The empiricists used to think that we are born with nothing, no experiences. But the rationalists, on the other hand, say that we are born with innate concepts. Now, what do we mean by that? Basically, it means and rationalists are, as I told you, they are the ones who believe in logic. So also they believe in certain things which are mathematically proven. So 1 + 1 through logic and reason, it obviously is 2 only. Another example in the practical life, if we say, let's just see that slavery is bad. Nobody really taught you that, right? But through your rationale, your logic, your senses, you came to know that this is, right? This is a concept that has not yet been told or taught to me, but I knew that this thing is wrong. That is what the rationalists believe. They believe that you are not told everything, right? But it is which you are born with, right? So this is what rationalists have we have a rationalist paradigm as. Then we have Constructivism. In Constructivism, basically, what we do is the teacher, this is basically a paradigm which is used in a teaching learning process. So, teaching learning process. Also, for instance, let's just say that from our age, like, we are from our childhood, we all are taught alphabets A to Z or A to Z, right? All of us then try to, combine certain letters and form words like cat, bat, mat, etc. So, how are you using them? You are using something which is prior known to you, the prior information of you learning alphabets and then learning that how we can combine these words and make a new word, right? So, in constructivism, you construct certain things using the prior knowledge you have. Also, let's just talk about some other thing. For example, let's just say that we all know that I told you that dog, there is a dog, right? What is the concept of a dog? How does a dog look like, right? So I told you that it has a tail which wags, it barks, right? And it has four legs. So basically, I have told you what a dog is in the class. Meanwhile, when you see after 4-5 days, you see a creature in the street, right, roaming around here and there, you try to make up certain things from your prior information that you have. You say that, yes, Himani ma'am told me that a dog is something which wags his tail, right, which walks on four legs, right, which barks, etc. So you see, and then you make out like, right, this is the prior information that was told to me, and then you construct the information, right, the construct the output that you have. That is what constructivists believe in. They believe that you are the ones who are the knowledge generators. You are the ones who are active participants who can create or construct knowledge, right? Then we will be talking about these things later on in the lecture. But moving on to postmodernism. Now, postmodernists were the one, or if a person believes in a postmodernist, paradigm, he or she tends to think that if we have multiplicity, if I think something else and you think some other thing, right, it's okay to do that. So they say that it's okay to celebrate plurality. Let me make it easier for you, because this word, is a little bit heavier. Let's just say that I write a word here. I write a word power here. Just try to think what is power to you. For some students, that might be physical strength or physical power. For some students, it will be mental power. For some students, it might be materialistic. Which means wealth related, right? That a person who is so wealthy, so rich is also powerful. Some might think that a person who is so mentally doing well is so powerful. Some might say that a person who has a body which is really well built, he or she is powerful, right? So there is this one word only, but that word has multiple meanings. So subjective interpretations that you have, your opinions about a particular thing might vary from what I hold as a true belief. This is what the postmodernists believe. They say that there is no single reality, obviously, and one should see the things which are plural, which are multiple in nature, and should accept those things. So he says the people who believe in these very paradigms, they believe in the plurality, the multiplicity that we have. Another example, let us just say, just right now, if you want to, draw this very word, B, on a blank piece of paper. And when you see this very sheet in a mirror, you see that it appears as D and not B. So it does not mean that B or D, both of them are correct, are wrong. Both of them could be correct as well. This is, what the postmodernists say, that you should believe in each other's opinions, belief systems, etc. that you have, seeing that nobody is wrong, literally, right? Another paradigm that we have here is transformatory. Now, this paradigm also speaks for itself, as the name suggests. It wants to eradicate any social evils or address certain social problems. Right? So by addressing something which is related to someone's caste, gender, sex, creed, etc., this sect, this paradigm wants to transform the society for the betterment. Correct? So transformatory paradigm is something which wants to eradicate all the ills and evils which we have in the society, basically. Right? Then we have the Verstehen. The Verstehen paradigm. In the Verstehen paradigm, a researcher, right, he or she wants to step into other person's shoes and see things from their perspective. So their behavior here becomes empathetic. So this is basically not an objective approach, but a subjective approach, that too dealing with something related to empathy. You want to see if the other person, right, what is he looking at the things at and how is he looking at those things, right? So you want to empathize with that very person, right? And you want to study human behavior. And if you want to study human behavior, what better than a way to be empathetic towards the person, right? So this is what is the Verstehen philosophy, right? The Verstehen paradigm. Now, moving forward, I have another question for you. Then we will be, through this very question, we will be dealing with positivism and post-positivism, which I had left in the previous slides for you to explain, right? So basically, read the question. Positivist researchers consider reality as. The answer to this question is, you can pause your screens and see, but the answer to this question is option B, objective. Right? Now, why do we say objective? First of all, let us just see what is the history of positivism and post-positivism. How did these two things came into being, right? So basically, when we talk about positivism or post-positivism, we will have to know the timeline, the entire timeline. So initially, people used to believe in gods. They used to say that whatever good is happening, it's just because of God. If something bad is happening, it's because God is sad with us, right? So the theological part, anything related to God was held to be true. Every person believed the same, right? That God, if Lord Indra is, unhappy with us, that's why there is drought in the city, country, whatever, right? If we talk about metaphysics now, theology was something related to God as a center. Then people moved to something which was related to common sense. They said, all right, we do believe in God, but let us just say certain things, let us just prove certain things and use our logical and common sense which is there, right? So common sense and, logic came here. So basically, how can that be proven? For instance, if there is humidity at a particular day, you see that it is humid and there might be rain, right? So from certain common sense things, you are drawing out conclusions, right? But this is what the metaphysics said and the metaphysics believed. Then came positivism. They said that, all right, prove me anything through science and I will believe it. Prove me anything through science, which means prove me anything which is objective in nature, which is universal in nature, and I will totally believe it without even questioning you. Correct? Then came post-positivism. Now they said it's okay to prove certain things through science or experimentation, but it's also okay at some point of time to use your logical sense as well, to use your common sense as well, right? So the post-positivists believed in science and logic. Clear? Now we will be talking about the positivism and post-positivism in its entirety. Let me just say here, first of all, the positivist, sorry, not the post-positivist. The positivism approach is something which deals with objectivity. You all have objective type MCQs in your question papers, which means that all the students, one answer will be correct. So there is one universal single reality which is there. So positivists believe in that very thing, that one thing is universal. if for one person the sun sets in the west and rises in the east, is the same thing for a person, for another person basically, right? So he or she believes, if one person believes in one thing that is universal in nature, the other person will believe in the same thing as well, right? So they believed in the universality of things, that everything, if there is this one truth which exists there, correct? Also, they wanted the researcher to be detached from the research, which means that the researcher should not have his or her own opinions when conducting a research. So, detachment, detached researcher, correct? Post-positivists, on the other hand, and we will be seeing and looking at the table as well for more, informative sense. The post-positivism, the post-positivists, they were not anti-positivism. They were not against positivism. They said that we can have multiple things. So, post-positivism, something is the one thing that overlaps with the postmodernism, as the postmodernists have the same belief that multiple realities can exist, right? So, post-positivists also believed that multiple interpretations are possible. Now, for instance, let's just take Jadoo, for example, from Koi Mil Gaya, right? We all have never come across any alien. We do not know that an alien has an eye, has four, has two arms, two legs, etc., and walks on feet. We do not know that because we haven't really, we haven't really met or seen an alien, right? So, through the human possible limit, we have created something which we only know. We are not thinking out of the box. We just know that, like for instance, also the movie Avatar, if we talk about Avatar, the creatures which are created there, they also are similar. They also are just like human beings, because we as human beings are not thinking out of, the limits that we have. We are just limiting ourselves. We are creating things which are around ourselves with the possible things that we have. Correct? So, they say that if in the coming time, let's just say, if in the coming times you genuinely see, or the scientists really explore what an alien looks like, right, which is not at all similar to what we have seen for the entire ages, it means that there is no single truth, no reality, there is no single reality which exists, and multiplicity should be there, will be there, right? So, here the researcher, in the positivist paradigm, the researcher needs to be detached. He need not have his or her own opinions, right? But here in the post-positivist part, the researcher can have his or her own opinions. So, researcher can have own opinions. Correct? So, basically, the entire difference between the two of them is, we will be talking about certain things with example as well, right? Let's just also say in the positivism part, let's just take Sir Isaac Newton, for example. Positivists also believe that certain things could be measured and observed. Now, if I tell you something is measurable and observable, it means that it is quantifiable. I can count that in terms, right? It is quantifiable, right? So, let's just take Sir Isaac Newton, for example. So, what did Isaac Newton discover? He discovered the theory of gravity. He discovered that if a thing falls from, upside, it will fall because of the gravitational pull which is there, correct? So, how did he discover that? He discovered that through an observation when he was sitting under a tree and an apple fell on his head, right? So, the theory was that basically this was this basic observation that he observed. He measured certain things. He saw, and if in today's era as well, if I want to test this very theory, right, if I want to prove it through science, I can throw this pen down and see that it obviously will fall on the ground, correct? If I throw anything, right? So, this is what the positivists believed. that anything could be measured, observed, right? And they should be objective in nature. But here, on the other hand, the post-positivists, as they were believing in multiple interpretations of the same phenomena, they also said that the researcher's opinions should matter, and if you are letting some other person's opinion there, it means that subjective and in-depth conversations or in-depth information will be gained, basically, correct? So subjectivity comes into play here with the post-positivist part. Now let us just see the basic differentiation. In the positivism part, we have a deductive theory. Basically, as I told you, that positivists believed in science and post-positivists, they believed in common sense and science, correct? So this is the first basic distinction between the two of them. Also, the positivists believe in deductive theory, which means that there is already an existing theory. There is already an existing theory, the gravity of motion, and I am going to throw one thing and prove it, correct? So testing an existing theory. So from general, I'm moving to particular, correct? From a general theory, I am testing it on a particular thing by throwing just a pen, right? And that thing will be proven, then it will be a positivist paradigm. On the other hand, the post-positivists believed in inductive theory, which means developing a theory, right? Which could be observing a pattern. For instance, let's just say that I have a swimming pool in front of my house and I see that in every summer, certain ducks come there, right? So I observed a pattern. I saw that 2 ducks were there, right? So from particular thing, I am moving to generalizing it. How will I do that now? I saw that 2 ducks are there, right? But with time, when I move forward, I see that in the coming time, now summers are near, there will be ducks. So a theory is formed through me, right? From one pattern, the pattern that I observed, I have developed a particular theory that is inductive in nature, correct? Then we have quantitative. As I told you, the positivists, they still think, obviously, that anything that should be measured, right? Anything that should be measured and observed will be quantifiable in nature. Both positivists, on the other hand, as I told you, they are subjective in nature. Qualitative, it means objective, right? And if it is quantitative means obviously objective, and if it is qualitative, it means that it is subjective in nature. And when we talk about the subjectivity, let's just take, for example, your subjective question papers. You write answers there, right? You write the descriptions there. So you delve deep into it. But if objective type of questions are there, you cannot present your own views. So the positivists, the post-positivists and the positivists, they have a distinction here as well. They believe the superficial or the, surface level discussions, and they believe in the in-depth conversation or the in-depth, study of a particular thing. Hence, if anything which is done in in-depth, that will be qualitative in nature, because you are not focusing on the quantity, how many interviews are taking, but you are seeing how many good interviews are you taking, correct? Then here in the positivists, they believe that if I want to prove certain things, I will prove it certainly. But the post-positivists believe in probability. They say that this thing might happen or might not. As I gave you the example of Jadoo, that there will be aliens, might be in the future, that might look like what we made them to look like, right? These are scientific, as I told you, they relate with science. And here, post-positivists, we discover things because we develop a particular theory. Absolute reality, that is universal in nature. They want to see that if there is one truth which is there, every person should believe in that very single truth only. But here, critical reality, a reality which can be questioned. A reality, as for the example I told you of Jadoo, if that does not turn out to be the way we thought an alien is, that will be questioned, obviously. So critical reality is there. This is what we will be talking about in certain lectures with usage of certain questions. But for the time being, there is something which you all should note down. The positivists believe in the paradigm, the sampling technique of probability, right? So this is one thing you should note down, and the same is the case with post-positivism, because when we will be talking about probability and non-probability samplings, we will be seeing that how probability deals with something related to quantity and non-probability focuses on something which is related to quality, right? In-depth lecture will be there through the usage of certain concepts, as I told you. Then positivists believed in something which is structured. So if you are taking a survey, you will be giving all 50 people the same questions which are structured, framed, right? But here in the post-positivist part, if an interviewer, if a PhD person is taking your interview for any post, he will be asking you questions, right? And he will be talking to you in a detailed manner, asking you why did you choose this topic, what are the benefits of this very research, etc. Right? So this was the basic differentiation between positivism and post-positivism. We will be bringing forward multiple lectures again and again for your practice in this 30-day plan, the last lab. Till then, stick with us, right? Keep on studying for this very paper that you have, and I know that for sure you all will crack it, right? We will be moving forward with other concepts in another video. Till then, take care, keep on smiling, keep on studying. Thank you so much.